Mr. Vincent, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was wondering if you could introduce yourself and kind of explain what your current role is, and what your claim to fame in Dayton is.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm Jim Vincent. The people elected me as county executive a couple years ago. I was on the commission and chairman of the commission prior to that. So been around county government. And of course, my history is I actually served a few years on the county commission in Hamilton County years ago, and ran for state house and won, and served a couple terms up there. And Rhea County was my district. And of course, I'm from Rhea County, so that worked out great. And got a long history in public service. I believe my campaign slogan during my executive campaign was that I'll try to build a government you'll be proud of. See, I believe the government belongs to the people. It does not belong to politicians. I don't like bureaucrats. Bureaucrats think they're in charge, and they're driving trucks that you paid for, and they're buying gas that you pay for, and their office is paid for by you, and their salary. So they should listen to you, and what you think matters. So I just have that in my heart. That's the government belongs to the people. That's our founding fathers' desire. Mm-hmm. We've kind of left that in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm a county executive, and basically I have a voice in anything that moves in the county, regardless what it is. Not fully in charge of everything. A lot of stuff I have to run to the commission. Run through the commission. And I will say early on, so I don't forget, I'm very proud of the county commissioners of Rhea County. They've got the same heart I do. They want to serve the people. We're one of the few counties, and I know the new appraisals, which we're going to cover that, the recent appraisals are under fire because I think mostly because they're not understood. But I will go into that in depth with you. But during this time of inflation, people don't realize, or maybe a lot of them do. I'll tell you, voters are a lot smarter than we give them credit for, than most elected people give them credit for. Mm-hmm. But inflation has harmed county government. It's harmed all of us. Just like the new order coming down from Nashville to raise the teachers' pay in the low mid-50s in the next year or so.
Wow.
Well, that money's got to come from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And our salaries have been climbing because, first of all, they can't survive if we don't.
Yeah. I
mean, it's impossible for a person to live on $14, $15 an hour anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just not there. But fuel, our diesel fuel for our highway department, the garbage service, and on, Parks and Rec, all that. Our fuel bills are just going through the roof. Utility, everything's increasing. Mm-hmm. So, I'd like for the people of Rhea County to realize we've not had a tax increase. A big majority of the counties have had tax increases a couple times in the last couple years. A lot of the cities have. And we're holding firm to not raise taxes. Mm-hmm. And, I'd like for the folks to realize that that's big.
Yeah.
During these inflationary times. That's huge.
Absolutely. We'll get to the appraisals and taxes.
We'll talk about that then.
Mm-hmm.
But then as far as my duties, the county executive is over all the properties that's owned by the county, period. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the Justice Center, the Health Department, on and on and on. DA's offices, courthouses, annex, on and on.
Well, then let's talk about what the county is responsible for. So you're the, let's say, the chief executive. You're the executive of the county. So meaning you have employees that have their own duties and responsibilities. Anything that's happening with the county, you have responsibility ultimately for. I don't even know if a lot of people understand what the county as a government entity is responsible for providing.
Well, everything that's in the county is, what I mean by that is, let's just list a few, and that'll kind of open people's eyes to where we're heading here. Parks and Recreation, highway department, the hospital is a county hospital, the justice center, the jail, the courthouse, the county finance department that's in the annex. Of course, we have a clerk, Linda Shavers, and Neva Webb, and Teresa Hogan, and Debbie Bird. All those are county offices, but they're arms of state government. See, county government is a constitutional office. It's part of state government. You know, cities, municipalities are formed under charter. It's where people gather together in the community and decide to form a city. It's totally different than county government. County government is constitutionally required.
Gotcha.
So that helps to explain it. And as far as our duties, you know, I have to work with all the cities to help them get what they need. We have Graysville, Dayton, and Spring City. All of them are great communities. I'm very, very proud of our county, and I'll get into all that with you and tell you why as we talk along. But our county's doing really well. That's why we've not had to have a tax increase. I'll tell you more about it in a little while, but Rhea County was just selected by the federal government and state government through our annual audit process to be the fastest growing county in the state of Tennessee.
Wow.
Yes. And I brought the document.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a lot to tell you here today. We'll enjoy this. But right there is the document, and where I just received it from state and federal government.
And this is being measured by real domestic product.
Yep.
So basically,
growth and income.
Growth
and income, and
this is making the point that the economic growth of most counties in the Chattanooga region outpaced the national growth rate. So we're blessed to be
absolutely
kind of near that.
And let me tell you, the 27 corridor from Chattanooga to Harriman is selected to be the fastest growing corridor in the state. And that's for a lot of reasons. One, East Tennessee's doing well. A lot of new people moving in, a lot of industry moving in. But there's things that drive that, and that's utilities. You know, you got to have good utilities. We got TVA here. We're so blessed to have TVA in our community. The other main thing is the rail spurs. We've got a railroad running right down the side of 27 Highway. There's only 3 other communities in the state that has that.
Wow.
So, you know, we just got a lot going for us.
When we hear that,
we just stumbled into, and some of it we worked to get there, you know, but some of it's just a blessing that we didn't see coming, just to be totally honest.
We live pretty close to the railroad, and
well, you may not like it too well.
We don't particularly mind it, frankly, but sometimes we'll be outside talking, and the train goes by, and people get frustrated that it's interrupting them. But it's a reminder that we're in a really fantastic spot.
We are.
Economically, because, you know, we wouldn't have probably these larger industrial complexes if it weren't for their ability to put product and get material directly on rail.
Well, you know, so we don't skip over something that means a lot to me. This report I just showed you tells you that last year we grew $2.44 billion. Now think about that.
And that's just Rhea County.
That's just Rhea County.
And how does do you know how they measure it's domestic?
Well, there's several measurements that go into that, but mostly it's jobs and sales tax revenue.
Got it.
Gas tax, sales tax, the state really tracks those.
So they can see how much revenue they've made on their taxes and extrapolate how much the economy has grown.
And it's all figured off population. You know, like we know for a fact that Nashville's outgrown Rhea County. We know that Hamilton County's outgrown Rhea County. But per capita, we've outgrown them, which is great.
That's fantastic.
That tells you that a small county is hooking up and doing things right. You know, I'm excited about it. The people of Rhea County deserve it. You know, I keep thinking of things that kind of fits our conversation. But one thing that I've always heard, one of my sons graduated from Bryan College, which is, in my opinion, wonderful. I love Bryan College. We're so blessed to have them here. But my son had to leave and he went to Raleigh to get the kind of job that his education provided him for. See, we're fixing that. We're starting to get high-paying engineering jobs here. This new TCAT school, it's going to have robotic training in it, robotic programming, design, operation. That's going to open up jobs here that pay the kind of salaries. And all I've heard, I started telling you, I lost my train of thought, I guess, but parents tell me I wished our kids could stay home and not leave. You know, it's rough to only see your grandkids 3 times a year and that sort of thing. So we're building the county that's going to fix that. No Ken Tire, Lazy Boy, Tenkata, Robinson Manufacturing, Baltimore Coal. I mean, on and on and on. I always hate to name businesses because I know I'm leaving some out. But, you know,
but these are just examples.
Yeah, they're just examples.
Yeah.
And their salaries are just climbing. You know, 3, maybe 4 years ago, our average was somewhere around $14.15, $15.60, something like that. And it's in the $22, $23 range. And it's more common now to see $27, $28 jobs. And it's very common to see $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 salary jobs in Rhea County. Well, that's huge. I mean, it's just growing every year. And it's growing because we're growing balanced. You know, when I was in the state legislature, I learned that you have to balance a community. And let me tell you what I mean by that. There's 3 large drivers that make a community healthy. The first one is salaries and jobs. Without income, you can't, you know, nothing goes right. The second one is housing. We've been very weak on that. We're finally hooking up on that. We've got 3 or 4 new subdivisions, a couple apartment complexes. Things are starting to fix on that. The other is quality of life. You know, you got to have things that keep children, keep people, young couples with children, keep them happy in the community. Green space, that's getting to be, I'm so thankful for that because I'm a farmer. I hate to see every piece of vacant land used up for concrete. You know, I really like the green space stuff, and I know that it has to be balanced. Government can only pay for so much of that because it costs a lot to maintain it. But just like the Abel Farm that we're doing in this big park, I'm so proud of that. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to and it'll also draw a lot of income to our community.
So I want to go through some of the projects that you consider, because you've got a lot on your desk right now.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Before we get into them in detail, and we've slipped into a few of them already, but we'll cover. I know there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, the topic involves a lot.
Yeah, just if you could just rattle off the things that when you're driving to work or when you fill your kids in, or I don't know who you fill in, but like you have a call with someone, he said, well, what are you working on? Well, I'm working, you know, maybe there are 5 things that come to mind. What are the big things that are on your desk right now with the county?
Well, of course, your major departments is the ones that furnish the services that you would notice every day. One of the things I've really worked on the last 2 years, our convenience centers, our garbage service, our landfill, it wasn't in very good shape when I was elected. We didn't have the kind of employees we needed in there that respected the people. They weren't very well kept. They were dirty, trash everywhere, dumpsters nasty. And, you know, I've got them spraying and cleaning dumpsters and cleaning the garbage trucks and repainting stuff and just spreading gravel and definitely no trash. I've had all of them cleaned up really nice. But the main thing, after I was elected, about 90 days after, I had them all come in and I bought lunch at the courthouse for them. And we had a 4-hour training class. And the thing I emphasized was every person that pulls in that convenience center or the landfill owns it.
Yep.
So let's treat them that way. Let's treat them with respect.
They're owners, not...
Yeah. They're not problems. They're your boss.
They're the boss.
They're your boss.
The boss just got here.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you know, that I've worked hard training that, and I'm getting, and, you know, I have a motto with my staff and our department heads. Anytime we have a retiree or someone that moves or we lose an employee, I want to hire a better employee then we lost.
Mm-hmm.
I want to keep moving county government to where it does a good job and it has the right heart and attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're public servants.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's kind of hard to figure that one out because everybody has their own pride and feel like they're in charge of their little domain, but that's not the way it is in government.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to have a statesman's attitude.
Yep. So trash, right off the bat, is something that people would know. That's something you got your eye on. Roads.
Highways, we're finally getting some grants set up. I'm looking forward to our future in the highway department. It's going to get a lot better.
And there's a new road supervisor?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Wilkie was just elected, and I think he'll do a great job.
But you mentioned the health care. How is the county in charge of health? You said something about health or the hospital?
The hospital. It's a county hospital. It's
the Rhea County Hospital is?
Rhea Medical is a county hospital.
So,
just like Erlanger is a Hampton County hospital. A lot of people don't realize that.
Right. Explain that. Does that mean that the building is owned by the county?
Yes, the operation. Basically, of course, it earns income. If it didn't, we'd be in trouble. Mm-hmm. But the hospital is ran by county government. And, of course, we appoint a hospital board, which I get to make appointments on that periodically. Just made a couple this past year. Mm-hmm. And I try to pick people that will work well with the medical staff and please the people. And let me tell you that Rhea Medical has come a long way in the last 2 or 3 years. We've partnered with 2 or 3 large medical groups. Erlanger Heart Institute's one of them. But there's several.
So anything big, there's too much to talk about, frankly, but I'm sure a whole podcast could be about the hospital. But anything real big happening currently at the hospital?
Well, we just finished that new medical building, and we got a whole group of new doctors in. Okay. And I just gave the hospital a lease on the 3rd floor of the annex where the old DA's office was before we moved them up to the Justice Center. Okay. And they're moving. They had a whole wing tied up at the hospital for HR department and accounting and recording files and that sort of thing. So they're moving all that into the 3rd floor of the annex and bringing some more new doctors into the hospital. So we're, this growth I'm telling you about, we're starting to get on the radar of other services, which, there's an old saying said so much it's almost corny, but a rising tide raises all boats. So that's kind of what we're going through in Rhea County. Yeah. And if we'll pay attention and make sure we're doing it right, we can get a lot of good stuff out of this growth we're going through.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you said that you appoint, how does the board of the hospital get placed? Is it just by your appointment or?
Well, let me think a minute. Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then besides the hospital, so we talked about, I'm just going real quick and we'll dive in deeper.
You got the health department's state ran, but it's Rhea County Health Department. Mm-hmm. So I used to work a lot with Hampton counties because it was affiliated with Erlanger. Mm-hmm. I was actually on finance and had to work their budget a lot.
At Erlanger?
Yeah. So it's the same thing here. I mean, it works the same way. Yeah. We got a very good health department. It's got good people managing it.
Okay. And roads, health department, you mentioned
Parks and Recs.
That's what I was about to say.
Parks and Recs growing like
people see the city parks, and I live in the city, so I see the more Dayton City Parks and Recs. But there are county.
They're everywhere.
Parks.
We've got one in Old Washington, one over on Double S Road. There, they call it Fraser Park. Mm-hmm. We've got one at Ray Springs, and of course we help the cities with their parks too. Not so much Dayton; they've got a full staff, but we're involved in projects with the cities, and I love partnering with them because it shows unity in the community, and we can do more together than we can separate.
This is something I've actually heard in the last couple of years that has been a noticeable spirit is one of collaboration and camaraderie between these government entities.
When I was elected, the cities and the county did nothing together. And that always frustrated me. The county executive, well, let's just say I believe Spring City, Graysville, and Dayton are in Rhea County. Mm-hmm. That's okay, so I'm Rhea County executive. The people in those cities vote for the county executive, so why would I not be as dedicated to them as I am the rest of the county? Mm-hmm. It's all one task. Mm-hmm. We're doing a lot jointly now, just like the Abel Farm Park. The city of Dayton and Rhea County is doing that jointly. I've done several projects in the north end with Spring City, North Rhea Utility, Grandview Utility, Watts Bar. I've given all of them this past year about $800,000 apiece. I got for them in a grant. Mm-hmm. And you remember 2 or 3 years ago when they were running out of water and didn't have the pressure, they call it the hydraulics of water systems, and I've given them the money to connect all of them together so that if one treatment plant goes down or one source of water goes down, they can switch to the other.
Wow.
And we've not been hearing the water shortage up there for the past year. So, a lot of stuff goes on in government, county government especially, that flies under the radar.
Well, a lot of it's underground.
Yeah, well,
literally.
That's true. Yeah, it is. Well, it's just like the sewer project. I just gave the city of Dayton $2.5 million to help them bring a sewer line out Highway 30.
That was a county grant?
Yeah.
And
$2.5 million I gave them. I got a $5 million grant, and I split it between the north and the south. I always try to be fair to all of them.
The north end is also getting a new sewer plant?
No, they use theirs for all those water projects.
Oh, okay, got it.
Keep in mind, those type grants are called infrastructure grants.
And so they can be used for different infrastructure.
Yeah, depending on the need. And you put that in your application.
Is our growth rate that we talked about at the beginning something really helpful when applying for those grants where we say, hey,
absolutely.
Hey, we are just blowing up. Can
the state knows that, and they're helping us.
It's
I've
great
got a really good relationship with them. I just got a $3 million grant to start the soccer complex at Abel Farm.
Abel. Well, you keep bringing up Abel Farm. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Tell us all about the development there. In my first episode, I talked to Hurley, and we covered it for about 10 minutes. But let's get the full update.
I started talking to the governor back when he campaigned his first term. Told him that I really believed in vocational education, and I do. College is not affordable for all families, nor do all children want to go to college. Trade schools and trades are getting to be pretty good income.
I was about to say, and a lot of tradespeople are making a lot more money than people graduating.
I was trying to be careful not to say that, but that's true. So
absolutely. So there's no fear in saying that. Become a tradesperson. You'll make a lot of money. Yeah. Plumbers, electricians, HVAC.
It's like the old joke where a guy says he used to be a doctor, but he's a plumber now. And they ask him why. He said, well, I make more money. But anyway, Abel Farm, that's one we knocked out of the park. I started talking to the governor about 3 years ago very seriously. He told me when he was running the first time that was in his heart and his desire to do was to get TCAT schools, technical schools, in the rural counties. And, of course, there's things that he has to measure to justify it. You can't put a $25 million school and staff it in an area where they don't have the student base. But here in Rhea County, we'll draw from Bledsoe, we'll draw from Meggs, McMahon, some of the others. But, of course, we got a pretty good student base here. So, and it's working well. We've already got the welding shop and stuff going and other buildings. But anyway, it's going to be a real blessing to us. And I started talking to the governor about it, like I said, when he came through here campaigning the first time. And every time I'd see him at a state meeting, I'd say, Governor, don't forget Rhea County. We need that TCAT school. And sure enough, they called me and told me they'd funded it for us.
Wow.
And was putting it here, and I'm very excited. Let me tell you what's special about this particular school. A lot of the campuses that Chattanooga State has and other technical schools are what they considered satellite campuses. You can take some of your courses there, but you got to go to the main campus in Chattanooga to complete it and get your diploma. That's not the case with ours. Every student that enrolls in Rhea County TCAT school, Chattanooga State, will graduate there without going out of that building taking classes.
Wow.
It's a full curriculum school.
And is it typically 2-year programs?
Yes, that's your
Wow. So we're graduating people out of pretty short program, 2 years, fully trained, just here in Rhea County.
Yep, and we're also working with our high school, that's another whole subject, but they have the vocational classes at high school, and we're doing joint enrollment where they can move some of those credits into their 2-year degree.
And so they can hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
With those.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
No, it's exciting.
So oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
What else about the Abel Farm? So we got that school, which is going to be incredible. And how much did you say the cost or the grant for just that school?
Well, the funding is between 20 and 25 million. I think it'll probably run more than that because construction cost has gone up a good bit since we got the deal cut. But they'll build it regardless what it runs. But my opinion, it'll run at least 25, maybe more.
Okay, but that's for everything.
And the part of the deal was that we, Rhea County, and the city of Dayton, since we're doing that project jointly, that we give them 18.5 acres to build the college on. That was our match. And that's all we're going to have in it. They're going to pay all operational cost, maintenance, lawn service, landscape. I mean, we don't have any cost going forward. It's all state.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Let me tell you, before we forget to do this, how we bought the Abel Farm.
Okay.
They had it appraised for $1.2 million. And they would not come off of that because they had out-of-state people looking at it. We agreed to do that, and we being me and the city, me and the county commissioners, and the city and their city council agreed to pay that. But during the negotiations on the grant, a parks grant is a 50-50 match, which means if you get a $3 million grant, it costs you $1.5 million. So I negotiated that they let us use the land cost to go toward
the purchase.
To go toward the
that matching.
That match.
Yeah.
So here's what we got. We paid $1.2 million. We give the state 18.5 acres for the college. Then the balance of it was like 69 acres or something. The state gave me $913,000. In other words, it's calculated by the acre. So of the $1.2 million, $913,000 of it was going in the park. So we get a $3 million grant. $1.5 million of it I already got the check for. They've already funded it, and then they're going to give me $913,000 on match, which means we're going to be able to spend almost $2.5 million, 2.487, I think is the exact number.
Wow.
Before we put a penny in it. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
And we're hoping to be able to do the same thing next year. So it's beautiful.
So at the Abel Farm, we've got that big school. We've got new soccer fields.
It's going to be a soccer complex, tournament worthy.
Okay. What else is going in?
Well, I'm working on getting enough money put together to do a convention hall.
Okay.
We don't have anywhere in Rhea County for tourist events. Our locals, our different groups here in town don't have anywhere to meet. If it wasn't for Bryan College being so kind to us, letting us use their cafeteria, and it seats about 350, I think. And that's where we're maxed out. And I lost a really good tourist event last year because I didn't have a 500-seat chapel for them to have their banquet in. So I'm working on, I've got one grant for about $680,000 already. I've applied for another $1 million. The convention center will cost about 2.6, 2.7. And I'm going to make sure we get the money put together for that. So there'll be several other smaller sports things, and we're going to continue to talk to the community But one of the things that's surfacing pretty strong is all the youth, college, and all are asking for a skating skateboard.
Skate park.
Yeah. I couldn't think.
Yeah. What about? I've heard a lot of people asking about a pool.
Well, they are some people asking that. We'll probably look into that, but that's a mean one to keep up. You know, your lifeguards, your staffing, your chemicals. I mean, unless you had an awful strong use for it, it'd be a costly one. A little scared of it because I've seen several of them closed.
Oh, because of the cost.
Yeah.
Just cost of maintenance.
Yeah, it's just it's a big one to keep up. You know, it's kind of like the ice rink. I so wanted that to be a hit because we don't have many winter events, but it just hadn't been supported by the public. So sooner or later, you got to say, well, it's not going to work. You know, I'm not saying we're not going to do it next year, but we're looking at it real closely because I want to spend your money. Not mine. I want to spend our county money.
Our money, your budget.
Yeah. On things that you want.
Yep.
And things you'll use. You know, government's famous for pouring money into a black hole.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I'm not going to do it. You know, if it's producing, then we'll do it. If it's not,
your point being that maybe the pool wouldn't be as
I'm afraid it wouldn't, but
popular.
we haven't really done a study on it or looked at it very closely. I haven't even heard from the city if they'd be interested. See, that's one thing about these joint ventures. Both bodies,
they got to be on board.
Yeah, both of them have to approve it. So, and that's good. That's safety valves for you.
Yeah. No, I love it. Do you have any concern about traffic? I know that the fastest point of entrance to the Abel Farm from 27, if you're coming from the south, is going to be there at Robinson and Delaware.
Highway 30 to Delaware and
right
there, you know, where the middle school is, the elementary school there, and then the new dollar store. You turn off 30 there would be the quickest route.
Right. I'm saying if you're coming from, say, up from Chattanooga on 27.
Come in 30 would be the quickest, wouldn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't think of anything that would be quicker.
Well, so I live on Colorado and Hickory.
Okay.
At the gas station.
Yeah.
And I think it would be fastest if I'm coming to go over the railroad tracks on Delaware.
Yeah, I got you.
And then
I'm sure a lot of people will. They already are cutting through from the mountain down Delaware and cutting around. Not sure how that'll... And we'll probably end up having to do some road stuff. We'll widen, get a turning lane in, and get wider shoulders. I mean, we're going to have to work on it.
My main question there was, if that ends up being a major artery for the development, if the trains parking there is going to be a big deal, but you think most people will be routing around 30?
I think, and of course we can control that with signage. You know, you got to have signs for a complex that size.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Direction signs out on 60 and 68. And
pointing people that way versus through. Okay.
I think that's the better highway. It's 4-lane, safer.
I mean, it's definitely the better road.
Right.
But it's maybe a little faster.
And you also want to avoid creating extreme traffic in your inner city. You know?
Well, that's also already a really tough intersection. Robinson and Delaware is a tough one, especially during school.
It is.
Yeah.
And don't think it can handle the kind of traffic we're talking about. You start having a tournament, you'll have 5,000-6,000 cars here.
That's what I'm saying.
So they're going to need to come in 30.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that happens that way. That's the only smart way to do it, in my opinion. Not that I'm all that smart, but
well, hopefully the signage and everything like that. I
think we can.
It'd be interesting to see how you can influence the navigational apps. You know, have you ever used Google Maps or anything like that to punch it in? It tells you where to go. Hopefully.
That's another good point right there.
Hopefully because
most people Google when they're out.
They're just gonna, and I'm afraid it'll take them on the literal shortest route.
Right, I got you.
But maybe there's a way for a city or a county or something to reach out.
They have a program where you can do shortest or best.
Right.
So,
right.
I always look for the best.
Mm-hmm.
If you're parked in, in the middle of a street, it may be shorter, but it's not smarter.
Well, and even those, they account for traffic. So if it does start getting backed up, it'll send you the other way. So maybe I'm overthinking it. But so the Abel Farm development is very exciting.
Yeah,
and I saw that the plans are to keep the barn, which is nice.
We're going to attempt to save that, clean it up, make it attractive, and let the community use it for a venue location.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Well, that and it, we'll call it the Abel Barn, and
it's iconic.
It kind of brands the Abel property.
Yeah,
which I told the family we'd try to do a little bit of that. And of course, by law, we can't use their name on the college because it's state funds. Mm-hmm. But anything we're using for local funds, we can work on that.
That's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces when you're doing a deal like this.
Oh yeah. Well, it's so big. Mm-hmm. What else is top of mind?
Well, I think we probably ought to talk about the new tax appraisals.
Absolutely. So everyone got their letters in a week or two ago. I know I got mine in. Looked like my home increased by about 75%, 80%. And I've heard a lot of people say theirs was increased by even more. Is it an appraisal or an assessment?
Well, it's a tax assessment. Appraisal. I think both those words are the same.
Okay. And so can you explain, first of all, why that happened?
I can.
And then explain the felt cost ramifications in reality.
Of course, it doesn't have anything to do with the county executive's office, but I'm not scapegoating that. I've had my office open. I've already met with a number of people to explain it to them. You got to realize that Debbie Bird does not have the authority not to do that. It's a state demand. And let me tell you how that works. And this tax appraisal's not going to be punitive on the citizens, and I'll explain that in a second. And I'm not trying to defend it. I'm just trying to lay the facts out the way they are. I know it upset a lot of people. I about fainted when mine came in at my house. I said, "Oh my goodness!" And then after I give it a few minutes thought, I thought, "Well, that's really can be a positive." And I'll explain why in a minute. But by state law, counties have to reappraise. They prefer. They've not passed a law to make us yet, but they prefer we do it, and a lot of the counties are doing it annually. It requires a much bigger department for Debbie to have to be able to do it annually, which we don't want that cost, and we don't want the aggravation of it. Don't want people fretting about it every year. That's part of that quality of life thing. But we do ours on 5-year cycle.
Which is the furthest you're allowed to, right?
That's right. And here's the problem. This last 5 years has been the most inflation years in the history of our country. Homes that we were selling in Rhea County for $150,000 are now $329,000. There is no such thing as a $100,000 house anymore. Used to, you could buy a nice little country home for $100,000. It's not possible anymore. So what the state requires us to do, because so much of our funding is state dollars. See, the state gives us back, and people need to realize too that Tennessee doesn't have an income tax. So the state survives off sales tax, which is a blessing for us, not to be taxed on an income tax. That's why Tennessee's doing so well. All right, you look at it that way. The state funds us with highway money. That comes through your gas tax. Sales tax funds several things in the county. They require, of course, they fund the biggest majority of the schools. On and on and on. They give us a lot of fees on the Justice Department, the judges, and the police department. And I get a good bit of money annually to help me with the convenience centers, Parks and Rec, just like this park grant we're just talking about. So the money flows in from the state. So what the legislature did years ago was they passed this reappraisal law because they didn't want county governments not to do their part. They wanted them to do their due diligence.
Instead of just taking more and more money from the state.
Just keep hitting the state for more and more money. They wanted us to be fair to them. Mm-hmm. So that's the point in the appraisal.
And property taxes are a source of income for the county.
That's where we get our revenue. Is property taxes.
So you get revenue from property taxes and grants from the state.
Yep.
Those are the two big ones.
But grants are, well, we get gas tax money for road service repairs. But most dollars that come down from the state are earmarked. Like if we get them for parks, it's a specific project in the park system. You get them for roads, you have to apply for it, and you apply for it under a road name, distance, what you're doing to it. So our tax revenue that comes in off property, we use to set budget. It's what we pay our salaries for county employees and furnish all the other services that we do come directly out of the property tax. But let's talk about the reappraisal just a second, because I really want people to realize what it does. The fact is we have to do the appraisal. We can't get state funds without it. Debbie could fuss all she wanted to, and that'd still make her do it. So, some folks have gotten mad at different departments in the county over it, and it's really not their fault. Now, you might have an appraisal you think was excessive. If so, you go in and talk to her. But if it's in line with the comps that they've done, you told me not to peck on the table, didn't you?
You're fine.
I've been quiet.
Well, it's hard not to.
I know what it is, but I didn't realize it was. So I started doing it. In a way, the appraisals are supposed to be done on comps. In other words, you take five
comparables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You take the 5 last sales, you multiply it or you divide it by 5, and you get a square foot price. Mm-hmm. And then you apply that, and of course condition and all that weighs into it, neighborhood, that sort of thing. But Debbie's really good at that. I mean, she hits pretty close. Mm-hmm. But if you've got an appraisal that you feel like was excessive, then go in and talk to her. And you can they have a board, equalization board, that you can actually go in and talk to them. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about it just a second. Here's the thing. Let's say your appraisal went up $100,000.
We'll talk about my house. How about?
Okay.
So it went from, it was a little house downtown.
Right.
And its old appraisal was $75,000.
Right.
And its new appraisal was $160,000.
Yep.
Or, yeah, something like that.
And it'd probably sell for 2 or better.
I expect it would sell right around 2.
Yeah, exactly. So you haven't been mistreated. But let me tell you the beauty of that. People are worried about their taxes. When the state, on your reappraisal year, the state does what they call a certified rate study. And we have been charging the citizens 2.2548 as a tax rate. Okay? When they do this certification, what they do is they take the amount of taxes you paid as citizens last year at the old rate and calculate it with this new appraisal, and they send us a certified rate. What they're telling you is, this is what we certify you can charge. See, state law don't allow us to make a profit on the appraisal. People don't realize that. It's against the law for us to make a profit on the appraisal. It's called revenue neutral. And that's the part the public don't know that's upsetting them. So what's going to happen, sometime in June, the state will send us a new rate. And I've calculated it myself, but don't hold me to this. It's going to be somewhere around 1.37 to 1.40.
So even though appraisals, this isn't the actual number, but if the appraisals double, then the rate is going to drop by half.
Yep.
Something like that.
That's exactly the way it works. So,
but that sounds like nothing has been accomplished.
Well, yeah, there has something been accomplished. Here's the thing. They feel like there's an injustice in county appraisals compared to state appraisals. I'll give you an example. Personal property that all of our industries are paying for here, it goes up every year. So if the county ever got in a condition to need more money, they would start off that certified rate. See, people in their mind's eye think we were charging you 2.2548. They expect that new rate when we set it, if
to be taxed at the same rate.
Well, to start there and go up.
Yeah.
So they're looking at,
yeah,
hey, if I pay 2.2548 on this new appraisal, I'm gonna have to move.
Well, and whenever I saw it, I assumed, I said my tax bill is going to be double,
right?
Because my appraisal's double.
Yeah, but it's not. It's going to be the same.
Mm-hmm. And if it gets to the point
where there's appraisal, but where there's a tax increase,
right,
it would start at the 1.37, assuming I'm right, and maybe go up to 2.47. So this huge tax increase that's scaring everybody to death is not there.
Yep,
it's not there. It's not going to happen. So, and I personally don't see us needing to do a tax increase for quite some time. We're doing well, and that's why I bragged on the county commission early on. They are not asking me to spend a lot of foolish money. And I had a talk with them when I got elected. Of course, I was one of them. I was a commissioner. In fact, I was chairman of the commission the year that I got elected to county executive. And I told them, I said, guys, let's don't waste dollars. Let's be methodical about it. Let's pick a really good project for the county, such as sewers out in the rural areas, things that's really hurting the county. Let's spend our money on stuff that the public can use for years and years. I don't like to waste revenue on impulse spending. Like I tend to do at the grocery store or Walmart. I like to analyze stuff, and I'll have a project on my desk for a year before I even say anything to anybody about it. I look at it inside and out. And we're just doing really well. The commission's operating that way. They're very cautious. When we set budget, I mean, we're probably the only government around here anywhere that cut expenditures last year to make budget.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, we do it every year, just about. That's what I'm saying. I wish that and let's go on and talk about the reappraisal for a minute.
Yep.
You're a young man. You have children?
3.
Oh, 3. Well, you're okay. All right. This home you own is probably one of your largest assets. Am I right?
That home and another property.
Okay. All right. Well, the others
went
other
up. Real estate.
The others went up too.
Yeah.
Okay. So what other investment do you have that was worth $75,000 that's now worth $160,000? Your net worth just went up.
The last 5 years have been very good to anything,
right?
Any kind of real estate.
So how?
Why? And that's a great point. This is what I've told people is that the numbers can frustrate you, but it's a fact of life that your property is now worth
let's
probably
go ahead and
twice as much.
On that a little bit. The first thing an appraiser does, if you decide to sell your home, and about a third of the people in our county sell their home every 5 years or less. They're moving that much, moving up.
I didn't know that. That's exciting, yeah.
Yeah, it is exciting. Plus newcomers coming in, buying homes. It changes fast. Okay. The first thing an appraiser is going to do when he comes to your community to appraise a property, whether he's a bank appraiser or mortgage appraiser or whatever, he's going to check your assessment.
See what the tax assessment is on that.
That's the first thing he's going to do.
Yeah.
So do you want him starting your appraisal at $75,000 or $160,000?
Yep, exactly. And it's not even just the sale of the home. A lot of people get something like a line of credit against their house. This is a great way to borrow money.
Borrow a HELOC.
And you want your house... Frankly, it's honesty.
Yeah.
You want the numbers that... We can debate about how much we should be taxed. But the appraisal of what our house is worth, we should all just be on the same page about what the market actually is.
Let me give you another example. Heaven forbid your house should get hit by a storm, severely damaged, or catch on fire. What do you think the insurance adjuster is going to check first before he starts settling with you?
Yeah.
Your appraisal value.
That's an excellent point.
Okay, so
people are set up.
Do you want them appraising your damage at $75,000 or 165,000.
Exactly. That's a great point.
I mean, all this stuff's positive, and it really bothers me that the public's gotten so upset about it, because I hate for them not to know the good part of it, and it is not a tax increase, nor will it be. I'll give the public my word here today, being taped and videoed, that I will not support a tax increase this year. We're going to, and the commission agrees with me, we're going to set the rate at the revenue neutral state certified rate.
Now, are you able? I thought it was the state was going to set it, or was the state going to give you a range? Or
no, they don't give you a range. They give you what they consider. Now, keep in mind, even though they give us that very low certified rate that keeps that appraisal from changing you, holds you harmless. That's basically the term. There'll be some people pay a few dollars more. Let me tell you why. Some pay a few less. It won't be much. You know, on a $500 tax bill, it could be $15, $20, $30 maybe, from what I've been told. And the reason for that is when they do this evaluation study, farmland is looked at different, industrial, commercial, residential, low-income residential, all that stuff's factored into that certified rate. So if you happen to be in a sweet spot, yours might go up $1 or $2. You could very well be one of them because you live in the inner city of Dayton. And I'm going to tell you, property inside the city of Dayton is going through the roof. And
there's not much of it.
Right. Yep, that's true.
In high demand.
But anyway, when you factor all that in, and factor in the fact that the state sets the rate to make you cost neutral, and you get the inflationary growth that you deserve. You're paying it for your groceries and your gas and everything. You go to trade cars, it costs you, a lot more than it used to. Shoes, it doesn't matter. You go to the dentist, you go to the doctor, everything's more expensive. So it's only fair that your home and
your assets
keep up with all those expenses. And if we can get the public to look at that and think about it, they'll be happy. And I want them to be happy. It's just really, I've had a few people call me extremely upset, and I get it. That's, everybody don't, and that's, really that's a blessing. The people of Rhea County trust us, and they don't stand over our shoulder. And that's what I've been telling the commissioner and everybody. So look, let's inform them. They deserve it. The fact they don't follow me around and know what I'm doing, that's I get it.
Shows trust.
Well,
and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast, is that there's not as many outlets today as there used to be.
Right.
And especially long form. It's really quite an opportunity to be able to sit down and talk for an hour. And get
I was shocked when you told me an hour. I never dreamed you'd do this long. And it's, and I've been reaching back and picking up things to bring forward into our conversation that I wanted to mention, but I realize now this is a conversation, everything fits.
You don't have to condense it down to a soundbite.
This is a very good method.
Yeah, and this way, when it goes out, people get the full story. There's no, there's no sound blip, there's no headline. It's you can get a full understanding of what's going on.
Well, let me tell you a little more why the public don't need to worry about tax increase.
Okay.
We sold $10,178,000 in building permits last year.
Wow. And so what do that income, does it just go to your general budget?
Well, no, that's tax revenue. They pick it up on the tax reports.
I understand. So, it's tax revenue for the county.
Yes, yeah.
And that goes to
in the general fund.
Yep.
So what I'm telling you is we're strong. Our growth. See, a lot of people fret about government, but it's an evil thing we have to have, if you want to call it evil. We can't. The citizens can't build roads by themselves. We can't pay for a military by ourselves. We can't build schools by ourselves, and private schools are not the answer, because there's a huge part of our population that can't pay private school tuition. It's great for those that can. So basically what I'm saying is government has to be there to do what we can't do by ourselves, and there's a lot. When you think about it, you and I can't build an Abel Farm park.
Right.
So we got to get together and do it together. What I don't like is bureaucrats that thinks it all belongs to them. I'll tell you something else I did the day I was elected, the morning after. There used to be reserved parking signs around the courthouse. Remember?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Well, why should a 40-year-old judge or a healthy county executive or my secretary or my staff, why should they have a reserved parking place and the public walk a block to get to their building? They own that building. They own that parking space. So I wanted my county team to realize how I felt about my job and the public. So I had them all meet me at the back steps of the courthouse, my entire maintenance team, staff, everybody that I could think of to come. And there was a good crowd there. And I gave them my heart on government and what good government's supposed to be. And then I said, so we're going to start here today. And I told them, I said, the trucks you drove here belongs to the taxpayers, belongs to the citizens. The gas you burnt getting here, your salary, your desk chair, your office, the road you drove here on, there's nothing you can see that the taxpayers don't own. I said, so here's the deal. We're not going to have reserved parking around this courthouse. I said, looked at Blake Waldo, my maintenance supervisor. I said, Blake, take your team, pull every one of them up. I want them up today. He said, Mr. Vincent, he said, you've got one right there at the sidewalk. I said, pull it up first. So that was the first thing I did the morning after I was elected, to kind of send a message to the employees that I believe in the people. And I believe in it being their government. And if we don't lose sight of that, see, they've lost sight of that in Washington. They really have. I mean, you know, when they have us afraid of them, how does that work?
Yeah, let's make it the other way around.
Yeah, yeah. Why should I be afraid of my government? I should be able to love them, appreciate them.
Yeah.
But you can't today.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do that in Rhea County. Go back to the subject of why I think the people of Rhea County have made this community great.
Yeah, why is Dayton such a great place?
Well, I'm a firm believer that community doesn't come out of brick and mortar and concrete. It's strictly the people. And here's the deal. If you live in Rhea County and you have a death in your family, you won't be able to get in your kitchen the next day for the food that'll be brought to your home. If you have sickness in your family, there'll be someone at your side. I've never seen so much giving in Rhea County. The 501Cs, all the charities, they're just fully funded well. It's the love of the people. You know, my wife, we make a garden. It's not bragging on her or me, but we make a garden, and she picks that garden and goes out to senior shut-ins that can't get out of their home and takes them a basket of vegetables during the summer. That's the kind of stuff everybody in Rhea County does.
Yeah.
And that's why Rhea County is blessed. We are a beautiful community. And, you know, I have 3 generations of grandparents buried here on my mom's side and my daddy's.
Wow.
Here in Dayton, Rhea County, Spring City, Yellow Creek, all up through there. I knew them all. They were precious, godly people. And that's what built this county. And we don't want to lose that. You know,
that's one thing that I want to hit on before we wrap up is I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I said, I'll be talking to Jim Vincent. And he said, yeah, I voted for that guy. I said, oh, yeah, you did? I said, why'd you vote for him? And he said, well, I talked to him, and he reminded me of my grandpa, and I want people like my grandpa to be running the county.
Well, bless his heart. I appreciate that.
And he mentioned specifically that Rhea County's grown so much, he wants someone in charge who isn't addicted to growth or infatuated with growing mindlessly. And so if you were able to talk to him, which he watches the podcast, with this in one hand, these incredible growth numbers in one hand, what do we do in the other hand to make sure we don't lose what has made Dayton so great for so long?
I understand that question. I'm very alerted on. I mean, I pay close attention to that. But here's the deal: Rhea County's never had anything to speak of. You know, we've just kind of been idling along, and I don't know what put us on the world's radar, but now we're there. corporations I get calls constantly. We're not pushing a lot of that. A balance. Mm-hmm. But like I said before, quality of life is what you're after. I don't know how we can survive without some growth. Here's the thing. If you break it down to look at it like your personal life, if I told you today that you couldn't make any more money, you had to figure out how to survive on what you make, what would that do to your home?
It definitely takes some of the wind out of my sails.
Well, it's just, where's the hope?
Yeah.
Where's the excitement?
The ambition, the drive.
The thing that makes us great. So the thing to do is keep that in check to the point that you pick good stuff with that growth. You pick stuff that blesses the family, supports the 501c in your community that do so much good for us. I mean, they do. Mm-hmm. If government had to do what our charities do, it'd be unbelievable, the cost. Mm. I'm working on a project right now we've never had anything for. We have inmates that get out of jail at midnight. And some of them are young ladies, some of them are young boys. They don't have any family here or whatever. They walk outside with the clothes that they were arrested in. Might be a T-shirt they were arrested in July, and they're let out in February.
Wow.
And they're walking the streets of Dayton at 12 o'clock at night. Well, see, the state law and federal law says that inmates have to serve till midnight because that's a calendar day. If the judge says I'm going to give you 3 months, then it's 3 months to the minute.
Does that mean they all get let out at midnight?
That's what that means. That's when their term.
That does not seem...
I know.
Prudent.
No, does it? Well, anyway, we're working on a house here for men. I'm going to, as soon as I get it open, I'm going to start one as soon as I can for ladies, mm-hmm. because they involve children a lot of times. Right. But this is a long story, probably a subject for us to do at another time. But just quickly tell you this. When people get out of jail, the biggest part of them go back to jail because they don't have any support, they don't have a house, they don't have nothing. Mm-hmm. They end up under a bridge or just roaming the street, or worse, end back up with the drug addicts that put them in the first place. Mm-hmm. They go back to whatever their support group is. Mm-hmm. It's usually not good, not what they need. Well, we've got a group of very fine men opening a building I bought with opioid money because it's a drug crisis issue. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a shelter, homeless shelter. I got beat up a little bit during the storm because of warm housing. Well, we was already working on that, but it hadn't got out to the public. But I bought a house on 3 1/3 acres, and we got a group of men that's going to run a shelter where they pick up inmates when they let them out of jail.
Wow.
And they take them to that shelter, let them have good meals, decent bed, but they have to sign an agreement that they'll go through a rehab program. And I'm not going to say the terms of it because they're doing that, but it's 6 months to a year or something like that. And they have to agree to that or they can't stay there. And it's a Christian-based training. Very excited about it. I've seen it working. They have one called the Grace House in Athens, mm-hmm. and it's worked great. Mm-hmm. And they've got like a 68% recovery rate where they never go back to jail.
That's huge. What will be the capacity of this?
It's going to be about 12 to 15 people starting out. But
that's excellent.
It is.
It'll grow. But
it'll
grow.
Excellent. And as soon as I get it open, which won't be long, let me tell you something else I did. Now, there's probably people that wouldn't agree with this, okay? But I told you it's 3.3 acres. There's a little field out of the way of the house that I bought with it. And by the way, the family that owned it, the Michael family, gave me a beautiful price on it, $55,000 for a house and 3.3 acres.
Well, I guess they knew what you were doing with it.
Well, they did, but that just shows you the heart of people.
Which goes back to our point about Dayton and Rhea County.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Anyway, what my goal is to do this again somewhere closer in to the city, because you have to deal with ladies a little different than you do men on that kind of recovery because of the children factor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of them do have children.
Yeah. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
For the first time, I've lived in Dayton since 2016. And before that, I was going to Bryan College. But last year was the first time I had to I had interactions with two separate homeless people. One of them was sleeping under the porch of a rental, and had to figure out that situation. And it's so delicate because these are people. But I'm renting the house to someone else. They don't want a stranger living on the property, so I have to remove the person from the property, but I don't want to just...
You don't know where to take them. You can't just dump them out in the ditch somewhere.
Right, that's ridiculous.
It's a love thing.
So what do we get? So what do we do? And that happened twice this last year.
Right.
And so hearing about that development,
you'll have a place to
is
take
very
them.
exciting to me.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have you back on.
Okay.
Because
we need to quit. It's 11:30. Well, I've enjoyed it. Well, I had a whole packet.
You've got so much for us to go over.
I've got a whole packet of good stuff here for you. Just show you. Right here's one from Tasser that tells the story of Rhea County and how great we're doing. We're rated way above most all counties, and this is infrastructure research, by the way. Mm-hmm. And what it says is that we've been approved for $150 million in infrastructure money, and that's over the next 3 or 4 years. But it also says that $54 million of it's already been spotted. So we got a good bit of pool to work from, and that's a complicated explanation there.
Wow.
But here's some new funds I just got from the waste field at the landfill up there. Here's a good one. This is my brag file. I don't carry it too many places. We just got certified by Moody as a Class A1 county.
Class? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I?
No, I don't mind.
So Moody's Investor Service. So
you know about them. They're the national appraisal that analyzes your condition and gives you a rating. And let me tell you what that one little maneuver, it took Ralph Beck, my finance department, which, I changed finance directors when I got elected and got Ralph, and I'm so blessed with him. He's a great guy, doing a wonderful job. Mm-hmm. But he put together the packet for this, and it was that thick, an inch and a quarter thick. Took him about 2 weeks. You have to do historical data research and projections, both. So anyway, we did that and got this A1 rating this year. Mm-hmm. And
so how does that affect a resident?
Okay. Well, it affects you greatly because it sets our bond rates and our bank rates, and we got an $88,000 credit on a debt we owe where they lowered the interest rate.
Wow.
$88,000 just for that one, and that's the first time we've used it. But it'll help us anytime we're doing any business. It's the same thing as your credit rating.
But as the county, the entity of the county got the A1 rating.
Yes.
Got it. Sorry, I didn't understand. Got it.
It's the same way we got this #1 rating, same way we got this Tasser report. We're just doing a...
Y'all are getting all A+, and your credit ratings are coming in the 800s.
Yep. and here's a TWRA agreement they did for me. They worked great with me, helped me with the parks. I mean, we just got a lot of good stuff going, and I love it. And I will admit that I've got the advantage over a lot of people because I spent several years in Nashville and got to know all these people. I know how they appropriate funds. Somebody asked the governor one day at a meeting, said, how does Jim Vincent get all the money he's getting for Rhea County? And he stayed quiet for just a second, and he said he doesn't chase parked cars. Now, let me tell you what that means. I knew what he was saying. I analyze his budget. I see which departments he's funding, and I see what their initiatives are in that department, and that's the money I go after.
You see where your interests align.
I help them spend their money.
Yep. That makes sense.
Here in our county, if you're asking for money to build a dam with, and the governor hadn't got any water reservoir money, you're not going to get it. That's a parked car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you gotta learn to watch the traffic, as he would say.
How long were you in?
I think, if I remember right, I
Nashville?
was elected in 2000 and served 4 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
2000 to 2004. It's been a while. But I was on state finance. I was there during the income tax battle and played a good part in killing that. Very proud of that.
Thank you.
Yes, it's huge.
Yeah. But I think I'll have to have you back on. There's a lot of projects happening right now. There's a lot of irons in the fire. And so we'll have to loop back and reconnect about some of these before too long.
Thank you very much.
Yep.